Topics for critical reflection. Pedagogy and how the teacher connects with practices in the classroom needs to be thought about in terms of the topics which are actually being considered. And this leads to a number of questions. What is important is that we're thinking about the autonomy that we're giving to children, the sense of empowerment that children get from being in the classroom. And we have to consider also the wider picture, because there's also the empowerment that we're giving whole families in relation to what we do as teachers. So we go beyond questions like, well, who is not listening or paying attention in the classroom, and why? And we're thinking about what strategies might change that, perhaps even the physical environment. So there are a number of questions that we need to consider, and I've listed some and I'd like to share them with you. The questions relate to culture and communities as well as the individual practitioner, and so they're banded into certain sections. There are a number of questions I put down. Let's just go through them. The first one: was this activity successful? Why or why not? That's a very basic question. It's a good starting point for the teacher. The second question: if we do this again, what can I do differently to help you learn more? This phrases the teacher's reflection from the student's perspective rather than their own perspective. Did this activity help you learn more than others we've done, and why? This gets you to understand the student's perspective on their experience of the methodologies that you use. Are the relationships that I have with my students helping or hindering their ability to learn? This will get you to think about your day-to-day interactions with students, how you're talking to them and how they're talking to you. Could the problems I have in my classroom be solved by pre-teaching my expectations or developing rules and procedures? This will get you to think about the problems, the issues that you may be experiencing from a very pragmatic point of view. Was my demeanour and attitude towards the class today effective for student learning? This gets you to think about how students may perceive your emotional state. Am I excited to go to work today? Students will know if you're not happy in the classroom, and therefore what you need to do is be sure that you are enjoying what you're actually doing. Are my students excited to come to my class today? This is connected to your attitude and whether you're excited about being in the classroom. What choices have I given my students lately? Remember, students are there to learn, but they also have a potential to be empowered by what is taking place. Can I explain at least something about each of my students' personal lives? This gives you a focus on the individual student and maybe their interests and needs as learners. Does my assessment accurately reflect student learning? It's all too easy to use checklists and to put ticks in boxes without really thinking how much the student has learnt. Do my assessments really reflect learning or merely task completion or even memorization skills? This sort of question will get you thinking about the higher order learning of the students. Why did I really choose this particular lesson to cover a certain objective? There could have been many others. This will get you to think about the different approaches that you can take. What evidence do I have that my students are learning? There can be more evidence than just assessments. There could be feedback or your observation of what students are doing. What new strategies have I tried lately that might benefit a student? This is a good question because it will get you thinking about expanding your skills and trying out new techniques. In what ways am I challenging students who are clearly being successful in my classroom? Very often teachers tend to teach to the middle and the people at the extreme ends, the lower end and the top end, get missed. Those at the top end get missed most of all. What are you doing to challenge them? What do I do when students aren't learning in my classroom? How do you react to that? What do you do? Which students benefited from a particular activity? It's worth knowing what worked well and why it worked well. Which students did not benefit from an activity? Of course, if something goes horribly wrong, this may be an opportunity to change your approach, or it may be just understanding that an activity didn't match with those particular students. In what areas can I still improve? This is a good question to think about in terms of your reflection, because it will take you into that cycle of constant renewal. What's stopping me from improving in these areas? What are the barriers? Because there will always be things which will get in the way. In what ways can I support my colleagues in my students' learning? This places you as a teacher in a community of practice where there is lots of support. Do my actions as a teacher show my belief that all students can learn at a high level? Part of the students' learning is dependent on your approach to teaching and your expectations that they can achieve much higher than they think they can. Do my actions as a teacher show that I take pride in my work? Remember, teaching is a profession, and as a teacher you are a professional. Are you a professional? Are the relationships I have with my colleagues conducive to creating collaboration and a collaborative culture? With collaboration comes really best practice. Are the relationships I have with students' parents conducive to learning? Remember, teaching is not just about kids in the classroom, but it's also about whole families. What new ideas have I tried in the classroom? Don't stick to old patterns. If you're using this question, then it is really challenging you to extend your repertoire. What have I done lately to relieve stress and to focus on my own health? Teaching is a very stressful profession, and what you must do is always check that you are in tip-top condition to be able to teach in the classroom. And finally, what things am I currently doing that you could, reasonably do with more priority? And how much time have you spent with friends and family? Health is important, and you must look after your health as a reflective practitioner. This is how you will stay in the profession for a long time.